Okay, everyone. Here's another show I failed to do an anniversary bit of. Earlier this year, 35 years ago, well, for it to come out 35 years ago this year, back in January, PBS premiered a show that involved math from the guys who gave us Sesame Street, The Electric Company, and 321 Contact. Let's talk about Square One TV today on the Tvlog. This is a Big D's Entertainment Rankings and Reviews Tvlog. Greetings, my fellow YouTubers. Welcome to Big D's Entertainment Rankings and Reviews. My name's Doyle, better known to as the Big D. Back again with another Tvlog. Today I'm going to talk about another show from the good old days of PBS that I actually saw. From the old CTW, the Children's Television Workshop, aka Sesame Workshop to you, there come a show with a little bit of a more challenging feel to it, math. Now, I was good at math a little, but some of it took me a little time to practice to get used to, like multiplication and dividing. But I got the hang of those, but there were some I was still trying to get used to. Some I didn't get to know much about. But as I watched the show, I still had some respect for it. It's a show that had lots of fun skits, songs, and I don't know what have you on math. So here it is. I bring to you Square One TV. Square One TV, or Square One Television as it was shown as, or Square One also, as it was sung in the theme song, was a fun-filled TV series aimed at kids on math. The show premiered on PBS in January of 1987 and ran for about 5 seasons. And this show came up right about the time of the math crisis. I'll explain that if I can as I get to this video. Okay, now what I'm seeing is this show was intended to address the math crisis among American school children. Now, the format of the show consisted of sketches. The show comprised short sketches that introduced and applied concepts in mathematics such as counting, combinatorics, simple fractions, estimation, probability, and geometry. The sketches featured regular characters and were mainly parodies of pop culture icons, popular television commercials, or popular television shows. Sketches were presented in various formats, including music videos, featuring a particular subject in mathematics, and taught the subject through a song. For example, Roman numerals, obtuse, and acute angles, percentages, negative numbers, and I don't know what have you. Now, of course, some of the music videos had songs performed by the main cast members, so I'll get to in a little bit, but they went under different names and what have you. But there were some that were done by actual artists, including Weird Al Yankovic, the Jets, and the Judds. Now, a lot of fun-filled shows were even parodied. Among some of the most popular ones these shows were actually shown in later seasons, include General Mathpital, a parody of General Hospital, Nobody's In, INN, a parody of the Britcom Faulty Towers, and Late Afternoon with David Numberman, a parody of Late Night with David Letterman. Yeah, Late Afternoon. Anyway, yeah. Let's see, and then there was also Math Court. It was a radio segment that premiered in the 4th season that parodied television shows of the day set in courtrooms. presided by Judge Sandra Day O'Crater, who showed zero tolerance for unacceptable behavior from the audiences and the announcer, with the judge sometimes not knowing who it was, frequently telling the gallery she'd have them do time or punish them in another extreme way if they didn't shut up and stop the interruptions. She even threatened to have them all hanged on one occasion. And in all cases, the district attorney was suing a defendant for a math crime in which case the defendant didn't commit. The judge was sometimes quick to issue a verdict, but in the end always ruled the defendant innocent after the defendant was able to prove it, leaving the attorney very embarrassed. Anyway, now in earlier episodes, there was also Backstage with Blackstone, which featured math-related magic tricks and performances by world-famous magician Harry Blackstone Jr. and featured various cast members. Two of them anyway. One of them would portray Blackstone's assistant. After performing a trick, Blackstone explained how the trick worked. There were also other segments that were added, included Pauline's Perilous Pyramid, a sketch that spoofed video games. It would be their second one, but I'll get to their regular one, first one, in a little while. It was like Hubert, and she had to jump around a pyramid similar to the one used in Hubert. Each square had either a positive or negative number on it. Her objective was to get to the very top of the pyramid. If the number goes outside the range, she gets thrown from the pyramid and has to start again. You have to keep the total of the squares she landed between 25 and negative 25. She also has a zapper that can change any number to positive or positive to negative. Let's see now. There's others, including the animated segments of called The Further Adventures of Zouken and Allison, about these two youngsters who are heading to Earth every time to get their Uncle Wilt out of a situation, because these guys are from the planet Neon, and Facts Headful, a parody of Max Headroom. Now, there's also game shows. Now, most of them had child contestants competing to win prizes, except for one of them, as I recall, and that was But Who's Counting, hosted by Monte Carlo, played by one of the characters. That was the only one that didn't have one of the actual actors playing themselves. Everything else was, however, with an actual player, host using them playing themselves. There's But Who's But Who's Multiplying, was the show's first original game, where two players captured spaces on a game board by adding or multiplying two digits at a time, trying to be the first to complete a row, column, or diagonal. Now, in But Who's Counting, two pairs of players. Now, they did have kids in one episode. They had to try to make the smallest, largest 5-digit number possible, or smallest, largest pair of fractions later on, placing one digit at a time as it was spun on a carnival wheel. Later on, they would get other games, including Triple Play, but that was only used in the second season, where players spun wheels to choose two digits and had to add or multiply them in order to match numbers on the game board, trying to complete a triangle. There was various numbers on there and Square One TV logos, which acted like a wild card, so you could pick whatever number you wanted. Then there's Piece of the Pie. It was a survey-based game similar to that of Family Feud, only it used pie charts in teaching percentages. Now, its set design was like a hole-in-the-wall pie shop from the beginning, and then it was designed like a diner for the rest of it. Ran from seasons 2 to 4. Next up, Close Call, a game about estimation, using how many beans are in this big jar type of questions, and bearing a similarity to The Price is Right. Now, the game was originally played as a direct knockout tournament and was later changed to a game played for points. Then there was Square One Squares, which was a tic-tac-toe game similar to Hollywood Squares and To Tell the Truth, but it was later replaced by Square One Challenge, which was played for points, but kept the correct and or bluffing elements of Hollywood Squares and To Tell the Truth, which on a big screen above them, the two Square One TV players, they they had these two rings together. And you had the one, well, there's a little flashing light in one of them. Well, in both of them, you had to pick which one's telling the truth, and the other one's light doesn't light up. That means they're bluffing. Or if there's one in between the rings, and that means they're both telling the truth. If it's outside of the rings, they're both bluffing. And then the host asks, "Will the truth tellers please stand?" Well, if they're both telling the truth, they explain it, and whoever is telling the truth, they explain what the solution was. But if they're both bluffing, then the host will explain. Anyway, now after season 5, there were no more game shows. Anyway, now of course, Square One TV provided lots of other segments and what have you. Now, here are among the 3 most popular segments that ran all the way through from the show's beginning. First up is Mathman. Uh, this was the first ever video game in the show and what have you. It was kind of like a Pac-Man type game. Mathman right here is shaped like a football helmet, and he walks around saying, "Mathman, Mathman." Once he has to eat 3 things of a particular kind, whether it's symmetrical polygons or maybe numbers and what have you. Later it was changed to true or false answers. When he encounters one, he has until a certain amount of time to eat the answer. But beware the dreaded Mr. Glitch, this cyclone character. Hello. He'll devour Mathman if he's incorrect or takes too long, which mostly ends with game over. But Mathman can beat that guy. Then the announcer says, "Free game." The next segment is Dirk Niblick of the Math Brigade, whose slogan is "Use your noodle." Now, this was an animated segment, and Dirk helps his friends overcome practical dilemmas through the use of mathematics. Supporting characters include Dirk's 2 young friends, brother and sister pair Fluff and Fold Noodleman, and Dirk's neighbor, Mr. Beasley. Now, let's see. The emphasis on this, where episodes frequently center on outsmarting scam artists who use deceptive language to attempt to trick the protagonists out of money or property. Most episodes also feature Dirk having more and more telephone conversations with his mother, shown as a silhouette in a house reminiscent of Norman Bates' house, and speaking in unintelligible, high-pitched, warbling chatter. Now, actually, the segments of this are similar in appearance to the 1965 cartoon series Roger Ramjet, partially because Fred Crippen animated both of these, and Gary Owens voiced the same characters, as a matter of fact. Of course, you may know Owens from Rowan Martin's Laugh-In, and he also voiced the Blue Falcon in Hanna-Barbera's Dynamite Dog Wonder, and also Hanna-Barbera's Space Ghost as well. Yes. Really a great character Dirk is. And last but certainly not least, Mathnet, which finishes every episode. It ends in a cliffhanger for the first 4 days and then gives its grand finale on Friday. Every episode starts out with these words: "The story you are about to see is a fib, but it's short. The names are made up, but the problems are real." Now, these are the main characters of Mathnet, which is a parody of Dragnet. Of course, it focuses on Kate Monday and her partner George Franklin, who happens to be a neighbor to Mr. Beasley. He's mentioned in some episodes. Kate and George are mathematicians, police mathematicians, that is. Now, they use their mathematical skills to solve various crimes and mysteries in the city, which originally started out in LA and then went to New York starting in season 3. Usually there's thefts, burglaries, frauds, and kidnappings. Yes. Now, of course, it ends sometimes in cliffhangers, almost just like the Bloodhound Gang on some occasions in the studio's recent series, 321 Contact. Now, there was also various special guest appearances in some episodes. There's so many to mention and what have you. One of the first ones was Yeardley Smith, who this was before she went on to voice a certain Lisa Simpson. Other people who appeared include did Weird Al Yankovic, see Marsha Wallace, Guy Stockwell, McLean Stevenson, Arnold Stang, Ronnie Shell, Dick Sargent. That's right, you heard me correctly. The second Darren from Bewitched, and second Richard Preston from Down to Earth. I definitely got to talk about that show. Laura Jill Miller. Let's see. Kevin McCarthy, who of course will go on to play the fiendish R.J. Fletcher in the cult classic Weird Al movie UHF. Kenneth Mars, Jeffrey Lewis, Sal Harris, Billy Hayes. Oh, the list goes on. Kind of just gave them a backwards alphabetical order, you know. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So anyway, yes. Really something. Give me a second. I can show you a little bit of an ad that features something that happened later on. Now here's an ad for Square One TV. You'll see that someone's different there with George. That's actually George's next partner, Pat Tuesday. She'd appear from season 4 going to season 5. But anyway, I like both partners of George's. They're both good and what have you. So you don't have to, but you don't have to take my word for it. Anyway, now the main cast of the show. Now the main people we see on the show, we see in the segments, include Reggie Cathy, whom we sadly lost a few years back, Larry Cedar, Cynthia Darlow, Cristobal Franco, or Chris for short, Arthur Howard, Louisa Leshin, and Beverly Mickens. Later on, Priscilla Lopez would take over after Louisa left. Now, Arthur would be playing was the guy who played Monte Carlo in But Who's Counting. And Arthur would also host Close Call from the beginning. Louisa took over for the later runs. Chris hosted Piece of the Pie for its first 2 runs, and then Beverly took over for the last one. Larry hosted the Square One Squares and Square One Challenge. Reggie Cathy was the announcer for all these games, well, except maybe no, he did announce all of them. Excuse me. And Cynthia hosted Triple Play. Now for Mathnet, we had Beverly Leach playing Kate Monday, and then Tony DeBuono took over for the role of Pat Tuesday. George was played by Joe Howard. Anyway, after a total of 230 episodes were produced and aired over its 5-season run, the show ended in 1991. However, it continued in reruns until 1994, and in 1995 was revived as a teacher instruction program called Square One TV Math Talk. Now, I failed to bring this up in my 321 contact vid. This along with this show, along with 321 Contact, would later be aired on the cable TV noggin when it started in 1999, but then was removed in 3 years later. Anyway, now you can find some episodes of Square One TV on YouTube. You can also find Mathnet episodes as well, because later on, Mathnet Mysteries would be re-edited into a movie or a special that PBS stations would air. And some of those you can find. Alright, now before I end this, let me go ahead and show you the main cast. Okay, here's the main cast. The top row, we have Reggie, Cynthia, and Arthur. In the middle row is Chris and Beverly. And the bottom, we have Louisa and Larry. Now you know what the cast looks like. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, Square One TV is a really great show. And I think you might want to get your kids to watch this if you can find it. Like I said, you can find full episodes on YouTube. It'd be tough to try and connect them in their order to connect to Mathnet mysteries. But if you have trouble, no problem. There are some Mathnet mysteries available on YouTube as well. Some of them are taken from their actual Square One showings and put together, or you can find some of them in their re-edited movie formats. Okay, enough said. So anyway, it's really a good show. I do like it. So why you? So what do you think? Did you ever watch Square One TV? You can tell me in the comment section below. If you like this video, click the like button, subscribe to my channel, and be a part of the Big D Nation. And join me next time when I bring to you my Saturday morning TV log of The Littles. Thanks for watching, and if you like this, check out these other TV logs I did on PBS shows. In the upper left-hand corner is the TV log I did for 321 Contact last week. The upper right-hand corner is the TV log I did for the Electric Company. Or go to the bottom left-hand corner and see the TV log I did for a non-CTW produced show, and that was the original Zoom. In the bottom right-hand corner is the button you can click to subscribe if you like rankings and reviews on movies, TV, music, video games, etc., as well as the TV logs, then I'm your guide. Thanks for watching. Until next time, I'm the Big D saying, see ya.